Today I want to compare two knives not just based on their steel or their edge angle, but their performance as a whole. So we have these two plunge-style button lock flipper knives. This is the $10 Beefonder from Amazon, and this is a $200 ProTech Malibu. This is in 20 CV blade steel that we know is heat treated properly from ProTech, made here in the USA, and this is 440C. We don't really know if that's what it is or how it's treated. This one's got a hollow grind and is a little bit thinner behind the edge. And this ProTech Malibu is nice and thick, and their edge angles are close. They're both around 21 degrees. I did sharpen these to their factory angles and got them both nice and shave sharp. Cut that magazine just fine with the Beefonder. And of course the Malibu. So I will say that I did have the cheap Amazon button lock knife before I had the Malibu, and I had high expectations for the Malibu, but it didn't really wow me because I had this $10 knife and was playing with it some, and it's very snappy. It's hard to fail this knife. You can just push right in on that flipper tab. There's no lock stick, and it just works really good. It feels very smooth. And, you know, I wasn't particularly wowed by this one either, because it was just a $10 Amazon knife, so I had some pretty high expectations going into the Malibu. And while I say it is extremely smooth, and it operates almost just about the same. If you blindfolded me, I wouldn't really be able to tell, other than that this Beefonder is stainless steel and it's much heavier. And of course you do feel a little bit of extra, not necessarily grit, but there is some more inconsistency in that pivot as the knife travels. You can kind of feel it in the button lock as it's coming back down. But I want to test how well these knives cut compared to each other and how those edges hold up to see if the significant price difference between these two really justifies how much more you would pay for a Malibu. Now, I am a knife collector, so I'm always going to want the Malibu over the Amazon knife, but I just kind of want to show maybe how good of a knife this is just compared to it. So we're also going to do an edge retention test, so we're going to do the take a couple tests on the best tester, cut the same amount of cardboard and rope with each of these, and just kind of also comment on the performance of their cutting and take a look afterwards and talk about and see how they did. $155, very consistent. Moving over to the Malibu. So we've got our before results. Let's go cut some stuff up, see how they perform, look at their after results, and talk about how they cut. All right, so impressions. The Beefonder is around 19.5 thousandths behind the edge, and the Malibu is 20 thousandths behind the edge. And regardless of that extra material behind the edge, and they're pretty close to the same edge angle, the Malibu still cut much better than I thought it would. I wasn't expecting it to be that significantly of a difference. I don't know if just the 440C on the Beefonder just initially just lost its bite. I made sure I wasn't cutting any like fiberglass reinforced tape or anything like that. It just the Beefonder did perform just fine for a $10 knife, but it immediately gave more resistance. It immediately took much more force to cut, regardless of that hollow grind, regardless of it being thinner behind the edge, than this Malibu. We got the 20 CV steel, more material behind the edge. It's thicker. You'd think it'd go through material easier, but maybe just the the geometry. Something about it was just right. It cut much easier than I thought it would. So let's see how the edges held up. So looking at the 20 CV on the Malibu, little rough, but it's still cutting. Will it shave? Not really. No, I got a couple. Let's look at the 440C on the Beefonder. No, it's taken some real effort to get that started. Nah, not really. Not really cutting too well at all. So let's go put some numbers to it. I'm not even gonna try to shave with this thing. Nope. 248. All right, so the Beefonder had a before cutting average sharpness of 152. And then after we did the cuts, it had an average of 241, and that increased by 89. For the ProTech Malibu, we had an initial sharpness level of 90. All right, y'all, I misread the numbers when I wrote them down. It is actually 109, and I said 99. It is pretty inconsequential in the end of it. Just want to let you know. Thank you. 99, and after the cutting, it went up to 202, or an increase of 103. Now, that is pretty close. I would say that is within the same exact range, but how could that be? I think because these were sharpened to relatively toothy edges, the best tester doesn't really test for that very well. The best tester is very good at just straight pushed cutting. So if the Beefonder lost its teeth and the Malibu kept it and was able to still continue to cut better, the best tester might not necessarily highlight that, because we could see that the Malibu could still cut paper after the testing, but the Beefonder could not. Now that makes me curious, if I took these to a highly polished edge, how that would affect those changes in performance before and after cutting. Maybe that could be a plan for a future video, but I hope you find these results interesting. I sure did. Thank you for watching.